So if we look then at the information we can get out of Meta or Google or Facebook, as it's more commonly known, we can look in the Facebook ads. The ads gives us a lot of great research we can work on through audience insights. We can look at Meta for Business, Facebook IQ, and in case studies as well. So let's just go and take a look at these and see what we can see in these cases as well. So audience insights is part of the Facebook ads platform. And what it allows you to do, if you just Google Facebook audience insights, it'll give you a way to look at whether there's a market or there's enough people who are interested in a specific thing in a specific area. So if I go to audience insights, it's going to open up an adjustable graph interface for me. So in here it's saying, okay, for a particular, if I want to look at a particular account that I've got, so I don't really need to do that because I'm just going to look at anything really. I want to look at all people. So I'm going to go, okay, potential audience in Australia is between 18,200 and 21,400,000. I might want to filter that down a little bit. I don't really want to have that many people. So I look at that and I go, okay, at the moment in Australia, there's considerably more women than men on Facebook. And if we look at the biggest areas for that, Sydney and Melbourne, no surprise, then Perth, then Brisbane. So Brisbane people aren't as active on Facebook as what Perth people are, and Adelaide then followed by Gold Coast. And you sort of see the similar size cities that are going to come with that. We start to see across Australia, by and large, people have a great interest in Tasty, which is the little fast cooking videos that are displayed by BuzzFeed. Lad Bible, which is a lot of fail videos and funny observations of life. Hamish and Andy, Coles, Unilad, more observations on life. 9 News, Kmart. We love Kmart. We're very into Facebook apparently, and we are very much into Australia.com, which is the Australian tourism. Not surprisingly, we haven't been able to travel anywhere else, so Australian tourism has been a big thing for us. But we can actually break this stuff down. We can filter over here by a particular country, region, city, or town. So let's just say we go into Logan. So Logan City. Logan Central in Queensland, that's close as I want to get to. So within Logan Central in Queensland, around the Woodbridge suburb in the south of Brisbane, you've got between 12,900 and 15,200 people who are in that particular area. And we can say they're between the ages of 18 and 65. Now, if I'm looking to start up a fish and chip shop there, I might just go, okay, I want really people who are above 35, up to 65 plus. So I've got 6,600 now to 7,800. And I can see that, again, they're mostly women, not men. And we can see that, we haven't got enough data for the things that they tend to like and follow, but we can go out a bit further and say, we're not just looking at Logan City. We might be also looking at Logan Home, other suburbs around there like Kingston, Queensland. There we go. I might take in a few more suburbs around there, maybe like Tanamera in Queensland, Shayla Park, Slacks Creek, Logan Lee. So I can start to see a lot of these different suburbs, Beenleigh even is nearby to all that. And start to build up a bigger population where I can get a bit more data on them. So I can see that there's generally a lot more people in Slacks Creek on Facebook who are active than people who are in Tanamera. Very much bigger suburb as well as Logan Central, not as active as people in Slacks Creek. When we can start to see more of the things they're interested in. So the police, they seem to follow the police. They seem to follow Queensland Health, I guess, during COVID. That'd be important. We can look at the fact they like 7 News in Brisbane, and they like Higgins storm chasing for the storm informations that are coming over in the storm season. Logan City Council, naturally, that's their local place. Queensland Fire and Emergency. They also Tasty people. So we, just like the rest of Australia, they're very much into that. And 9 News, also very popular in there too. So you get an idea of the basic interests. Now that's great. Now I've got all these people. I want to know if these people are interested in the things between 35 and 65 that I am looking to create a business around. So I'm looking to create a business around fast food. I can type in fast food restaurants. and then start to get, so not quite enough in there to tell me there's a lot of people in that area. So I might need to look at something much more broad. So people in Brisbane, for instance. So Brisbane, Queensland gives me a lot bigger population now. And I can start to see whether they're interested in the thing I want to say. So in fast food restaurants in Brisbane, we have an interest level of 50,000 to 59,000. So we go, okay, there's a very big interest, but notice in the demographics, right? The fast food restaurants mostly sit in the 35 to 54 demographic, not in the 55 to 65 plus. That tells us, and there's a lot more women on here too, that if we really want to reach people on Facebook who are at fast food restaurants who are over the age of 35, they're pretty much in the younger half of that, and they're largely women, mostly like quite vastly superior amount of women on there. So we're not really going to reach a lot of the men who may be more interested in what fast food options are available. There's so many different options in here you can look through and then see what the filters are. So I can take out fast food restaurants and look, for instance, in cooking school. And I can have a look in the Brisbane metropolitan area at the moment for people over 35 years old who are interested in cooking school. If you were going to start one up, there's that many people. So when you're advertising, you'll be advertising to that many people and promoting yourself to that many people in there. And notice how it's the opposite of the fast food. People who are older want to do cooking school. So that's a lot better. And there's a much greater number of women who are interested in that than men. The men couldn't give a crap about it, but the women are really into this. So you start to see who your audience is. Women above the age of 55 seem to really be digging the idea of doing a cooking school in Brisbane. So you can go through all these filters and keep looking for the different things you want to look for. You can also combine these things, cooking school, who also have an interest in, let's just say, a Vietnamese cuisine. So we start to see then women over the age of 30, or people, let's break it down just to women. Women over the age of 35 who are into cooking schools and Vietnamese cuisine tends to be at the younger end. But if we take out Vietnamese, it's just going to be women who are looking for cooking schools. And then we look at cooking school. For women, not quite enough people, but we add in more in there, say Chinese. Come on. Cuisine. And we start to get a lot more people. So isn't it interesting when we're looking at just cooking school in Brisbane for all people, it was the upper demographics that are into that. I'll tell you that. Remember cooking school, upper demographics, add in Chinese cuisine, and we start to see there's a bigger interest in the lower demographics in both of those things combined. So you can find some great bits of information in Facebook's tools. They've also got tools called Meta for Business, which gives you a lot of inspiration. So you can look at the different creative guidance and the kind of case studies they're into, which shows you how different businesses have faced different things. So for instance, Jollibee serving fast food via ads. Looking at Cadbury Dairy Milk, you're looking at Pat Pat, which is kids' clothing. Looking at some of the big messages, but not all of them are big. Some of them are much smaller, like iQueen, for instance. Or you can look at things that are specifically within the Asia Pacific region, which is us. You see things that relate to businesses within the Australian and Asian Pacific regions. So we can look at West Elm Australia did a mobile optimized video ad and how they did that and able to reach people to have a successful outcome. So you can start to see what the differences are in there. As well as case studies, there's a thing called Facebook IQ, and this allows you to then discover how you can measure things better, how you can plan better for your ads, how you can look at the different audiences that you might want to see in there. So we look at audiences such as the audience insights we just looked at, and then what are the things that appeal to them. So we're going to look at who's interested in AR and VR. What are the topics for watching in 2021 quarter one, which is now very much past us. We're in quarter one, 2022, and look at what the emerging trends are that Facebook's been able to see upon all their different platforms. So you can start to see what things work, what things don't, and what things might be more appropriate for you. There's lots of information out there, those case studies we just saw as well. But I'd also like to introduce you to Google, because Google gives you a ton of different information tools that you can use to research. So you can say, if I'm going to make a decision to open up a beauty school, Um, so let's just see the interest in beauty schools within Australia over the past 12 months. So there's been sort of very, very up and down. It tends to be around about seasonal changes. So going into winter, not much interest, but going into spring, definitely a lot more interest. So that's past 12 months. If I look at that over maybe the past, right through the whole past, the interest in beauty schools has kind of dropped. There hasn't been much there. But if you look at the difference between opening a beauty school or opening a massage therapy business, so I can open one or the other. Let's see the difference. Now, massage is by and large a much higher searched for term on Google than what beauty school is, but it has dropped remarkably over this last month. Now, the reason that would be massage therapy is usually something we do when we've got spare money and we've got spare time. Christmas, New Year period is a holiday period. We don't have spare money and spare time because it's all going towards those holidays and those trips and those buying Christmas presents and whatnot. So luxuries like massage therapy tend to not really be getting much interest. I would be not surprised if that picks up a little bit as we move out of January and into February. That said, beauty school is starting to rise because we're talking about the new year and people looking at new careers. Let's also look at whether I want to sell, let's just say moisturizer, or I want to sell a skin serum. So if people are searching for moisturizer or skin serum, there has been a really big rise over the last 20 years for moisturizers. The same with skin serum, it's on the rise as well. But if you were looking to set up your website to use a keyword such as moisturizer or skin serum, just realize that the difference between searches for people looking for moisturizer and looking for skin serum is absolutely dramatic. There's a very, very big difference in people looking for those two terms. So I wouldn't be going too carried away with the word skin serum when most people are just looking for a moisturizer. And there's a huge difference there. So this will give you an idea of also if you're looking for things like fish and chips. So fish and chips is a dish as opposed to butter chicken. So do a comparison of those two. So blue is the fish and chips, above butter chicken. Big difference. Much, much bigger search traffic for people looking for fish and chips than what there is for people looking for butter chicken. And you'll find that these peaks are always around summer. So look at that. Fish and chips, January. Fish and chips, January. The peak there, January. Holiday time, when people are actually much more likely to be out and wanting to eat fish and chips. December, January 2021, another peak. We're going for another peak here in January 2022. Whereas you'll probably notice with, if I take out the fish and chips and we just have butter chicken and what butter chicken search trends are, they've gone up over time quite remarkably. But again, it's in the middle of the year. Look at that. June, July, August, June, July, May, June. Butter chicken is something we look for in winter. Fish and chips is something we look for in summer. Bet you didn't know that's something that people actually search for, very, very seasonal. Butter chicken in winter and fish and chips in summer. So that's something you might say is that I might have an Indian restaurant in the winter and I might want to have a fish and chip restaurant in the summer to be able to take advantage of those different times. So you've got those abilities to see these things are great market research tools that allow you to see what the search trends are over a period of time and compare them with other things. For instance, you pick out anything in your area. You might want to go for a life coach as opposed to NLP practitioner, for instance. Might be a good one for you to be able to tell the difference. Now, another tool is the keyword planner, which is part of Google's ads program. So this is just in one of my ads accounts. I'm just going to go into a thing called keyword planner here. And keyword planner allows you to see the volume of searches for particular keywords. So people are looking for, let's just see NLP practitioner. Trying to cover as many different kinds of people as I can here. And I want to get results for NLP practitioners, the search trends within Australia. So I've selected Australia, English searching, and on Google, we see that NLP practitioner searches are running around about 1,600 searches per month. And it gives me some information about the competitiveness of those searches and how much it will roughly cost me per click if I was advertising on Google. That tells me then that much more people are looking for NLP practitioner than, say, NLP master or master practitioner or NLP trainer. So it's interesting that the practitioner term tends to be very well known in Australia. Whereas if I want to then look at something like a hypnotherapist, hypnotherapist, I remember we had 1600 as the big term for NLP practitioner. Hypnotherapy therapist is 9,900 searches per month in Australia, much bigger. So this gives you information to say that there's less people looking for an NLP practitioner than are looking for a hypnotherapist. Slight differences in what those two different things are, but it'll show you that if you're choosing between one path or the other, there's a greater demand for hypnotherapists than there are for NLP practitioners. Neuro-linguistic programming, if you're wondering what NLP is, very similar to hypnotherapy, just a different kind of modality, I guess, on how that's approached. So then there's other tools from Google. You've got the Google Research. That one I'll leave you to have a look at yourself. It's kind of like very egghead stuff, like big research, big questions being asked. But think with Google, it's quite good at looking at marketing strategies for different ways of using Google's tools and looking at what the future of marketing may look like, as well as some of the insights that Google has found from the customer journey and the trends from customers. So you can read a lot of these materials in Australia and New Zealand and seeing that the Aussies and Kiwis are omni-channel shoppers. You can explore 3 YouTube communities down under that are charmed audiences all over the world. So you can look at different patterns and trends for different kinds of businesses. In LinkedIn, very, very quickly, most of what you're going to look at is within the advertising platform. So in here, we do the same kind of stuff that we do with Facebook. We create an ad and then we select an audience. So if I'm looking for an ad, for instance, for this account, I'm just very quickly going to look at what the demographic stuff I'm looking for. So in here, I'm going to look for this default campaign group, and then I'm going to start creating an ad, a campaign. And I'm going to pick who I want this to go for. So I'm going to create a new group, and the group name is going to be called test. And I'm going to run their ads. And I'm going to now start to look at how these fit into a demographic that I want to get. I want to have maybe a bit of lead generation. And in that lead generation, there's currently 12 million people in Australia that are on LinkedIn. I can now start to get down to, say, let's just say, let's go Adelaide as a location. So Adelaide, South Australia. Now over on the right, I can see it's gone down to 520,000 people have some kind of interaction with LinkedIn in Adelaide. I think that's a very overstated kind of target, but that's all right. What I can then do is find out how many people are then interested in certain things. So I can narrow that audience down to an attribute like a job title or industry or skill. So I can see I only want to reach people in Adelaide that have interests in, let's just see, business and management. So I can look at all that and I go 310,000 of them are interested in that particular area of thought. But if I want to just look for accounting, I want to get rid of all these. In the accounting area, only 170,000 of those people in Adelaide have an interest in accounting. So this gives you some really big core numbers that let you know if people are interested in certain things. LinkedIn, obviously very different to Facebook when you're looking for these kind of interests. Facebook is all about looking for a lot of the very lifestyle interests that people have. LinkedIn, more about business interests they may have or professional interests or job interests that they may have.